What's up, everybody? Welcome to Let 'em Play podcast, hosted by former Major League Baseball players Mike Cameron, Bill Hall, and myself, Darnell McDonald. Here at Let 'em Play, we share stories of our baseball journeys, and we hope that these stories inspire you to be the best baseball player that you can be. If you haven't already, make sure you check us out on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube.
Welcome to episode number 4, Let 'em Play podcast. Our next guest is none other than Jerry Manuel. So Jerry Manuel is a World Series champion, manager of the year, and just continues to impact lives around the world and impact baseball. But before we even talk about baseball, Skipper, I want to talk about one of your greatest accomplishments, and that's being married to your high school sweetheart for 39 years.
47 years, bro.
Oh!
If you tell somebody 39, somebody got to fight. 47 years, bro.
47 years, man.
Yeah.
And I tip
Thank
my
you.
cap. So my first question is, how do you stay married for 47 years?
Well, commitment and communication. I mean, you really need to communicate, and you need to leave yourself behind a little bit, and put that energy into the other. That's probably the biggest advice I could give someone is to put them ahead of you, and you'll be okay. You should be okay, and then eventually that'll turn back around, and that care that you gave will be given double back to you. And that's kind of how we've been doing. I mean, it doesn't mean that we haven't been through, tough times like anybody else, but as people that are, believers, we fight through it. We fight through it. We fight through it. We fight through it.
I like that, man. 47 years. So speaking of believing, your son, Jerry Lorenzo, founder of Fear of God. I know we're celebrating 100 years right now in
Right.
Baseball, the Negro Leagues.
Yes.
We have Jerry Lorenzo, and his gear is unbelievable. And I wish that we were celebrating his gear in these 100 years, all this stuff together. I see you rocking the Fear of God hat. Can you talk? Where did this creativity go? I know you have a daughter also that and is doing stuff in the fitness industry, and Anthony's impacting lives in the baseball industry. Where did all this creativity come from?
Well, I have to give, a lot of credit to my wife, whom when I was chasing my dream, she was there solidifying the kids with principles that we knew that if we instilled in them the right principles, they wouldn't stray, far off the path. And plus, those principles allow you to kind of dig into really who you are. And you might not be a baseball manager, you might not be an athlete or whatever. You could be somebody else, but be the best that you could be. And the last part was always to tell my kids to try to be their own boss. And whatever you do, try to be your own boss. Jerry Lorenzo, he looked at the game different than all my kids. My kids, for the most part, looked at the wins and losses. Jerry was checking out the uniforms. He wanted to see who had the stripes in the right places. He said, "Boy, we just lost, and you're here talking about they should have had their stripe over here and over there." I said, "Oh my goodness!" And then he began to work for different designers, and he came to me one day and said, "Dad, all the stuff that's out there is that's kind of my stuff." I said, "Well, you need to do your own thing then, bro." I said, "But you need to do it right. You need to do it right, and and you need to do it in a spirit of excellence and in a spirit of humility." And whatever you get, you give back, and you'll continue to grow.
Oh, that's beautiful. I know, man.
Yeah.
He inspires me, and I love it's about the details, and even seeing you in your uniform managing in the dugout, man. You inspire me. You make me want to manage because you GQ in the dugout.
Well, that was never the plan. The plan was to beat the other team, beat the opposition. That was the plan. And whatever came with that was, I was cool with that. But that was the plan. And to play, in a way that your city, whom you're representing, is very proud of your style. Everybody's not really, you can have that kind of not necessarily swagger, but confidence, with your team and that type of thing. And you look out for the young men that have struggled to get there. And then their background, just like Mike Cameron. I thought he would be on tonight. Is Cameron on here tonight?
So yeah, I thought he was also. He has a night game tonight. He's with the
Mariners.
Okay. They play at night, and so I'm at it by myself.
Yeah.
So he told me to tell you what's up. He still has a lot of questions for you, and
he's a good man.
Yeah, man. He took me under his wing when I came up to the big leagues, and he taught me how to be a big leaguer. And hearing some of the stories, that he went through coming up.
Yes. He had a difficult time, coming up with the White Sox, and then he came back after he was traded to Seattle, and we were competing against each other. And I think one night he hit 4 home runs to set a record. And at that night, I remember that very clearly. Is that I'm a competitor, so I'm fighting mad, but something else leaped in my spirit that was happy for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I look back years later, it was more important to him to hit the 4 home runs than for me not to give him that opportunity. Do you understand what I'm saying? When you look at the whole picture, way down the line, that was great to see a young man whom the first clinic I ever did, he was the only African-American player there, and there were over 500 kids.
Wow.
Yeah, he was the only African-American player there. And that's the only way I remembered him. He said, I was at that clinic. I said, we didn't have no brothers at that clinic. None of them looked like you. He said, well, you had one. I said, yeah, I remember that one. He said, that was me. I said, okay. So that's, you kind of applaud those, a career like that, because the struggle and the fight that he had to endure to maintain and to be consistent and be a big league player, and to pass that on to other young players of his ethnicity is awesome. I'm really proud of Mike. I'm really proud of him, and to see his son growing into young man, what have you. It's great to see.
Yeah, Daz. I remember Daz when Daz used to, same thing your kids used to do. He'd tag along with his dad, and he'd be shagging balls out in the outfield. He'd be showing me up in center field. I remember telling him, I said, Dad, hey, I never seen a kid that young be able to put their head down and run to a spot and catch the ball. When I seen that, I said, oh yeah. I told him, I'm gonna be your agent when you sign.
Yes.
Next thing you know, like he already signed, he already made his debut, and I'm happy for him. I remember we used little dude running around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to applaud them for enduring that, and the mothers too. Because they have to handle so much of a major league person and personality. It becomes very, very challenging, and they're holding the fort down. So you have to applaud the women too. And, our sisters, my wife's sister. My sisters, sisters are just, they're just special. They're just special.
And I think that's something that's not talked about enough is to hold that entire lifestyle,
Right.
And especially when you have kids, then it goes to another level, right? And then
No doubt.
women are there holding it down, and especially then when you have boys, it's another level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I tip my cap. I tip my cap, and I tip my cap even more for those relationships that are able to endure after baseball. You know.
Yes.
Um, so let's go back a little bit. What inspired you to start playing baseball? Get in the game.
Well, my father did a little bit with the Negro League. So when they would come through town, we kind of was born in Georgia. So when they came through town, they would pick him up and he would pitch. And my mom used to have to run out the first base line to grab me because I would be mimicking what he was doing on the mound. So that's kind of where I got my first start. But as a military family, my lenses are somewhat Georgian. I mean, because that's the first thing I saw, so I really never forget it. That's probably the gangster side of me, but the other side, the Christian side, which I try to portray more. That's kind of from a mom's side, but anyway.
Is that the Sacramento side? How you go?
It's wherever I go and whatever I'm affronted with, determines what side comes out.
Million, that's a skill. That's a skill.
Yeah. But I try to keep it on the down and low. I don't just try to do nothing serious. It's nothing serious about me anyway. But it's that part of my life of baseball, came from my father. My mother was a pretty good athlete as well, which in turn, I think I got all the athletic genes in the family because I was able to play three sports at a pretty high level. And but I always loved the strategy of all the games, but baseball was the strategy that I loved the most. So I kind of felt that if I knew I didn't make it as a player, going against some of obviously the best players in the world, that I knew the game well enough that people that were managing were asking me questions. So then that told me, I know what's going on. Mm-hmm. I got a feel for this thing. Y'all playing checkers, Jerry's playing chess. It was that type of thing. So they could come back to me and ask me questions, or I could question them without them feeling not intimidated, but being questioned in a authoritarian position. Mm-hmm. Because the question was legitimate. It wasn't something that was just thrown out there. Why you did this? It was the managers that I worked for knew I was trying to learn as well, but I was also there. Didn't realize it till later in my career that I was sharpening them as well as they were sharpening me. So I had a feel of what was happening.
You're bringing value, and so that brings me to after your playing days, you coached, you were a coordinator, infield coordinator, you're a bench coach. You see guys today they step right into managing.
Right.
So tell me about, how did that prepare you to be able to do all those different things and then become a manager? Was that beneficial for you?
Oh, no doubt. I think being the field coordinator of a franchise, meaning that everything in spring training runs through your plan and your program. So you have to have a program for each level, and you got to be organized enough to where that runs on time, in a period of a day. I wasn't a person of organizational skills, if you will. I had enough to get by, but to organize that many people made a big difference for me when it became a team. Now you had 2 minor league, you had 2 rookie ball teams, 2 A ball teams, 1 AA team, and 1 AAA team. So I'm kind of running all those teams together, pitchers, blah, 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 the whole thing. That's what a field coordinator does. He kind of puts those teams together. So that in itself was very beneficial for me when I went to coaching at the high level, or when I went to managing first. I managed at AA first. Then from AA, they moved me to AAA, and I stayed there for a third of the year and became a third base coach for Felipe Alou and the Montreal Expos. And God couldn't have put me with a better man, a man of spirit and a man of tremendous knowledge. And I left him and went to Florida with Jim Leland. For 1 year, we won the World Series. So, and I had Jim Leland before in AAA as a manager, and I was a player. And he used to pick me up, and we used to go to the ballpark talking about the game last night. And my wife keep asking me, she said, why is he picking you up every day? I say, I don't know, but I like to ride. You don't have to take me in. He taking me every day. Every day he had a brown van. He picked me up, and we hash up the game. And I was coming to find out. I said, oh, okay, all right.
Next thing you know, you was bench coach.
Right.
1997, you guys win the World Series.
Right.
I want to talk about the team that you guys had in Montreal. Was unreal. And then you go to the Marlins in 97. Let's talk about that team. What sticks out to you? Because that team was loaded with everything.
Well, what sticks out with me was that I came over, fortunately, with Felipe Alou's son, Moises. And we had Moises was he was like a 4th or 5th hitter in Montreal's lineup, which was a pretty good lineup. Now in this lineup, he went probably 6 after you had Bonilla, you had Sheffield, you had Renneria, you had Louis Castillo. All those guys were ahead of him, and Devon White. You just had, and then we added Darren Dalton. And you had Charles Johnson. So, you had a plethora of talent. And I can recollect him saying, they got me hitting here. I said, you haven't driven in 100 runs yet.
Ooh.
I said, you need to drive in 100 runs. And I'm gonna help you to drive in these. I'm gonna show you how to drive in 100 runs. I said, now when a guy get on third base, instead of you trying to hit for the fences, and you see the infield playing back, take your ground ball out and get the ribby. The ribbies don't go down. They just keep climbing up and up. So we get to Los Angeles, and I get some brochures on my desk, and I'm thinking they belong to Milt May because he liked trucks. I always told Moises, I'm going to get me a truck one day. So I thought they were, Milt May, so I put them on his desk. Then I called my wife, we didn't have a cell phone at that time, and she said, why don't you accept a gift? I said, I don't have no gift. What gift? She said, Alou, Moises is trying to buy you a truck. He promised you a truck if he drove in 100 runs. I said, that was a joke. That was a joke. He said, now you want to buy your truck? I said, no, you're not buying me a truck. Man, we get back to Florida, and he got this big red truck, F-150, sitting out there. So here you go, Jerry. I think he drove in over, that night he hit his, I think it was off Chan Ho Park, hit a three-run homer to go over 100 for the first time in his career. And he kept slapping my hand, stopping my hand. I'm like, why you keep slapping my hand? We're on the same team. Great. You're not getting no runs. Let's go. We still playing ball. But I think he was just happy to get that 100 RBIs. Yeah.
And he did it for some years after that.
Yes. Very talented player. Very talented.
Really talented when the men were on base.
Yes, fearless.
Manager's best friend.
No doubt. No doubt. I remember, I could recollect one time, Darnell, that we were facing Sheets from Milwaukee. And Moises must have had a 9-pitch at bat in about the 4th inning. And he eventually made an out. And he comes back to me on the bench in New York and he said, Jerry, I think I took something out of him. I said, man, you just made out. He said, no, I took something out of him. He don't like the fight. He didn't like that fight. Man, we scored 6 runs the next inning. And he looked at me and says, I told you, I took something out of him. I said, that's what I'm talking about. That's how we do things. I said, now you belong to the gangsters. And when you can do things like that, you're a gangster.
Right.
Yeah. By any means necessary. You fighting,
Yes.
And it was good.
And he seemed to be, he did a great job of slowing the game down in those moments. And just watching him get in and out of the box, really intentional. And then he had that, he had that bat wag that I even tried to do that for a while. They working for him. I know he said he used to pee on his blisters too. I'm sure a lot of people doing that, but I was always impressed the way he slowed the game down in the box.
Yes. Yeah, he was very good at that. I mean, he was a tremendous fastball hitter. I think he went through a sort of a metamorphosis. He was there when Tom Reynolds was managing. Okay, they fired Tom Reynolds and put his dad as the manager. And he tried to do everything 110. I mean, he'd run foul balls down and you thought, man, this guy's going to kill himself. But he eventually learned, just like you're talking about, to slow the game down. So he had went from one pace and went to another high pace where he really didn't even produce during that time, trying to do it so much that he learned, and then he became comfortable. And like you teach breathing, he was able to breathe. And man, oh man, what a player. A fearless, very intelligent player. Very intelligent. I mean, he knew at the end of his career, he knew how to hit. He knew when to take a walk. I remember one time in Chicago, we were in Montreal at the time. He was a young player, and he wanted to squeeze. He was at the plate trying to tell me to give him the squeeze. And his dad was shaking his head in the dugout, saying, no, hit, drive in the run. He drove in the run. I mean, but he was that type of player.
As Dusty Baker would say, that's a ball player.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, that's another good man, Dusty. Man, that's a Hall of Famer. That's our next Hall of Famer.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about, Dusty, yourself, and these guys that have done pretty much everything in the game, from playing to managing and, at a high level. When we talk about the year, you guys won 95 games in Chicago. You get manager of the year. And I know you managed in New York as well. What was the toughest place to manage? And
why? I think the most difficult time I had obviously was at the beginning in Chicago, because I felt as though I was carrying the weight of minority. So I had to fit in with this apparatus. And I also was carrying the weight of a journeyman. I wasn't a superstar, well-known player. So that for me, which I shouldn't have been wrestling with, was what I was wrestling with as a young manager, trying to stay in my lane for both groups, if you will. I was trying to stay in my lane. Now, once I managed for a while, I knew the game, and I knew I was blessed because I studied the game. I sit on the bench and I study the game if I'm not playing. And when I got to the big leagues, I obviously didn't play very much, but I'm studying Dick Williams and the guys that I played for, and which made me, a better manager. But that first year was difficult for me because I thought I had to fit this certain mode and to be a part of this apparatus of major league managers. Then I began, when I lost that job and went to New York, they challenged me with questions after the interviews. I mean, during the interviews, they challenged me with questions that made me feel good because I was able to give them something they had never heard and feel good about it and feel comfortable with it, whether they liked it or not. That's how I felt, what I did and why I did it. Yeah. So New York was was fun for me in the sense that it was challenging to answer questions that you didn't want to answer and were asked in different ways. You still had to do the gymnastics even in that, which became somewhat fun in the media, and I felt had a good relationship. It doesn't matter anyway. There's still people that are trying to do their job. You know what I'm saying? They're just trying to do what they do.
What's tougher, managing the game or answering the questions after the game?
I think answering the questions after the game, because you can inflict some things on your team that could be misconstrued or misread. And then you have to worry about losing a player. And for me, my whole thing is to have everybody, even the 25th guy or the next guy coming up in the minors, all in the same mindset, moving in one direction. But he's as important as the big dog. The big dog is the guy that I challenge all the time. Me and him probably had more problems than anybody else. And as a manager, you make sure the big dog is in line versus the 25th or the 26th guy. But I appreciated the 25th or 26th guy because he wasn't getting the opportunity to do what he wanted to do. And that was just part of the game. That was just part of me trying to keep the team cohesive.
And another reason why I want to play for you, because I was a 25th guy. But before we even talk about, I want to go back to Chicago, because you and Kenny Williams were the first African American manager and general manager in the history of baseball. And do you think that'll ever happen again?
I think it will. I think we're going to see ownership. I think we're going to see the numbers turn around. Because historically, the pillars of our community have been religion, fashion, dance, and baseball. When I came up, those were the pillars of our community. So I think it's going to come back around. I think my generation probably made some mistakes, and then I think the showcase mentality of baseball has taken us away from the game. I think in our generation, we fed our kids whatever sport they wanted to play. And once they tasted that and it was glamorous at a young age, that's what they gravitated to. They didn't. When you went to play baseball, there was about 4 people in the stands, in high school. I mean, you play football in Texas. If you play football in Texas, you got everybody cheering for you and saying, okay, you cheering for me. Okay, let me do something. Basketball, whatever. It's glamorous. And once our kids tasted that, they're athletic enough to do that. Ken Griffey's son is athletic enough to play at Arizona State or Arizona, wherever he played. Barry Lockton's son played in the NBA. I mean, I'm sure there's a number of other people that have had kids and they may not have wanted to follow. Those are Hall of Famers we're talking about. They might not have wanted to have the pressure of following that, but we fed them other things. And once they taste those things, they hungered for them again. And it became a better hunger than what one of the pillars of our culture was. And now our pillars changed as far as sports go to basketball, football, then maybe baseball. Before it was baseball. Nobody know, at least I don't know. I should know who broke the color line in basketball, but it is not as big a deal as Jackie Robinson breaking the color line. You understand what I'm saying? Or who broke it in football, right, or who broke it whatever. But it's not as huge as what Jackie Robinson, the world knows Jackie Robinson did that. So that's because of that's what made it a pillar, that we had been doing that. If we hadn't been doing it, hey, cool, go play, hockey or whatever, or, soccer or whatever, that type of thing. But baseball was a pillar, not football, not basketball, but they became pillars. And obviously now you see we kind of dominate those sports, which is good. And when you dominate a sport, you also have a voice in that sport. We really don't have a voice in baseball right now.
Interesting. Yeah.
We don't have a voice in it. They at least have a voice at the table. Whether somebody controls that voice or not, I don't know, but at least they got a voice. We don't have a voice.
I wouldn't even say that. I think it's controlled by the players. When I look at it,
Yes, exactly.
At least the NBA. So why is that? Why is that in baseball? Like, because they're making just as much money as those guys in these other sports, if not more. Why isn't there a voice in baseball?
Well, it's because that we're not participating at the numbers that they are in basketball. They're participating at 80%, somewhere around there, with superstars having interest in social issues. Our baseball superstars that might have interest in social is not heard because we're not listening. We're not watching. Some of us are watching baseball, but we're not watching it like we're watching LeBron. If he say something, we're gonna perk up. Now Mookie Betts can say something right now, maybe in LA he can, but he's not gonna get what LeBron gets. But 30 or 40 years ago, when Jackie Robinson, if he said something, boom, like he said, I want to see a black man in that third base coaching box one day. At that time, that was a manager, but he said that. So he was. That's how big baseball was for us. We was able to change at that time some of the dynamics of it. But right now, we just don't have the numbers. I do believe there are voices there, but they are probably at a whisper. They're at a whisper, where in the NBA it's a megaphone, like, hey, this is what we want. This is what we want on the court, blah, blah, blah. You could say that in the MLB, but we'll put a little something here, we'll put a little something there, we'll do, whatever. But, and that's just a part of that apparatus, which is really harmless in a sense and harmful. But because I know Manfred very well, I work for MLB, and I know he tries to do the best. He comes out to all of our Hank Aaron events and speaks to the kids. And he himself said, I would like to see this game get more athletic.
Well, then tell me this. This is the thing that's for me. It seems like and who has a bigger voice than the NBA is the WNBA. But to me, it seems like the NBA and the commissioner work together better. Like, I'm watching the All-Star game. I see the commissioner's first thing he says, I want to thank you guys, the players, for coming out here, right? I thought that was really important, right? And showing like how they're working together to build the brand. And I wish that baseball, it always seems like it's one against the other.
Yeah.
Why can't we do this thing together?
Yeah.
Why can't we build this thing together?
Yeah.
Which leads me to, so you feel that you have a lot of hope in the coming years with minorities in baseball. Leads me to the Jerry Manuel Foundation. I was, I got a chance to listen to some of the young kids that are in college now that have gone through your program. I was really impressed. With the things they're saying. I'm not sure. The young man at U of A, pitcher, had a lot of great things to say about you and the things that you inspired him to do, and pretty much why he's where he is now. Can you talk about the Jerry Manuel Foundation?
Well, it's sometimes difficult talk about prop yourself up for what you're doing and whatever. That means you ain't did nothing lately. But anyway, I'll say what we try to do is follow Frederick Douglass model. It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. You know, so that's kind of our model. And for me, when I came home from being fired by the Mets, one guy came up to me and said, "Hey, we need your help." I said, "What do you mean you need my help?" He said, "We don't have any baseball." "We mean you don't have any baseball?" He said, "Well," I said, "What about Little League?" Because I had been in the major leagues for the last 30 years, so I didn't know anything about travel sports, and my kids were all out of school and that type of stuff, and they were in different areas of the game. So I said, "Well, what's going on?" They said, "Well, this is travel ball now." So what is that? You know, I didn't have no idea what travel ball was. Well, you got to pay to get this. You got to pay to get in the tournament. You got to pay this. I said, okay. So we started a travel ball team. We call it the Black Barons. And we show up at tournaments and everybody see all our little under-resourced kids. We took care of everything that they did. And then, but it was only on the weekend. So I told my son, I said, we got to have these kids more than just the weekend. I said, we're not imparting any life lessons into these kids. We're just talking baseball. So we started the charter school. The school was in an area where you normally didn't go back in the day if you were of color, but they were the only school that was closed down and needed so many kids to reopen. And I said, we can do that. So we brought kids in. I mean, we packed kids in cars like unlawfully. And God must have had his hand on us because there was no problems, no issues with that. And then we finally got together. So we started the school, and it was a baseball school. And
you guys were busing these kids down to this school.
Yes.
For this school to stay open. So these kids are going to charter school.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the baseball academy started.
Yes. We that's what we do.
These all baseball players going down?
Pardon me?
Were these all baseball players?
Yeah, all these guys are pretty good baseball players. We had one kid. This group of kids we got now. We got like, and we don't have that many kids because we don't really advertise Jerry Manuel. If you do that, you're not getting the under-resourced or underserved kid. So you have to kind of go and see where they are. And it's just like, it's like the vaccination, right? Where is the toughest place to get vaccination from? It's from the hood, down there where nobody goes. So that's where we have to go and get the kids. We could get any kid we want because of the program, the type of program that we have. We get kids from all over the country, but that's not what we're here for. We're here for these kids in these under-resourced areas to say, hey, we'll go pick you up, but we're going to get you an education and you're going to have some direction when you leave here, whether it's baseball or not. You're going to get yourself on the right track. Now, have all the kids gotten on the right track? No. Some of them have reverted back to generational issues. And they're fighting those now, but we stay in touch with those kids. We still lend a hand. We say, hey, what you need? What's going on? Why? Boom. Did you hear the conversation we had? We had this conversation before. We've talked about it. Now you're 23. Time is ticking. What are you going to do with this dash in front of your name? It has an end to it. Are you anything? Are you going to fill this dash up or what?
I heard you talking about discipline and how discipline is like the greatest freedom, right? And how this education and this school system, all these things, this discipline that you're learning is preparing you for all these other things.
That's right. That's right.
That's something, and so that's why I'm I look back and I understand when my dad had us in all
Ooh.
these things. Like we didn't
Mhm.
have time to get in any trouble. We were
Mm-mm.
always doing something,
Mm-mm.
right? And
Mm-mm.
yeah,
Mm-mm. You couldn't pass, you couldn't matriculate the entrance exam of life if you weren't better than. You had to be better than, is what we were told. You couldn't be equal.
oh, yeah.
You had to, in order to matriculate in this life, you better come with better than. And that's not coming with good enough. No, you got to be better than. You can't make it close.
Well, my mom be the best.
Yes.
I don't care if you
Yes. That's
vacuum in
what
the
whatever you
floor, like
choose.
do it the best you can do it. Learn,
That's
practice
right.
being the best. Like I
Yeah.
think that's the thing. Like these are things that don't happen overnight. These are skills, right? And you
Exactly.
develop these skills, and now as you get older, you start to understand why. Like I was saying, my mom, you vacuum the floor, vacuum the floor the best you can. Do
Exactly.
it the best.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
Focus on doing it right the first time.
Exactly.
And then you get later on in life and you start understanding like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, like this 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 carries over to the baseball field, this carries over
Mm.
to off the field and so on and so forth. And the earlier that we can learn these skills, the better. And so when I look,
Yeah.
you say your baseball program you guys do is education. It's
Mm-hmm.
education and then baseball.
But you know what I like? I like the fact that you call those disciplines skill. I think that's a good way of putting it to a young man. This is a part of your skill set. Is this discipline? Let's put this in this pile too, rather than over here on the side that you're gonna get through life with. No, this is a skill set. If you don't excellence this skill set, then you're gonna fall short. You got to excel in this skill set. That's pretty good. I like that.
It's like running the first base, hard to first base every
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Think about Derek Jeter, one of the best
Yes.
players ever. Ran the same way to first base for 20 plus years.
Right.
Same way they teach you in Little League. He was doing
Mm-hmm.
this after being an all-star. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? For 20 years. Run hard to first base, hit the front of the bag,
Mm-hmm.
make sure there's not an overthrow.
Right.
It's a
Right.
discipline. This
Yeah.
this this is skill, and
Yeah.
you don't take doesn't take any talent. Like
Yes.
we all can develop that. So these are all things. I say these things because as a young player, as a first round draft pick, I took a lot of things for granted, right?
Mm.
I didn't understand
Yeah.
how important these skills were, right?
Right.
I think we get distracted from little league, playing little
Mm-hmm.
league, and then you get drafted, you get into pro ball, you get some money, and then you have all these external things, and
Mm-hmm.
we really get away from just playing the game, doing the
Yeah.
simple things, right?
Right. Right.
Not
Right.
understand that that's going to carry over to everything else we do.
Exactly.
Routine, routine,
But
routine.
you went through those things in order to be where you are today, though. So you can pass those things down. If you'd have had them then, you might not have wanted to pass them down. You know what I'm
True
saying?
story.
You had to
Yeah.
learn them
Fact.
because they brought you to a different place.
Yes.
Now you can pass that down. That's how we have always, as a culture, grown. That's called faith to faith, passing it down. Believe it. This is what happened. Boom. Believe it. This is what happened.
And this
You
is
see what I'm saying?
yeah, and that's called wisdom, right? It's called wisdom. That ain't something you read in a book, right? That's
No,
something that you
no,
went through and
no.
you did, and you understand how important it
Yes,
is. Now you're passing
yes,
down that wisdom. And so
yes.
I look at you and I'm like, I'm like, yeah, this is my manager. I want to play for this guy. I know I keep telling you that. You think I'm joking when I say it. I want to put on a uniform with you.
You got to be 15, 16, or 17 years old. I don't even manage then.
No? Do you want to
No, I
manage?
watch.
Do you
Pardon me?
want to manage?
Do I want to manage?
Yeah, do you
No,
want to manage again?
no, you know what I like to do? I like to get interviewed. so that I could pass that knowledge down to some of the young managers that are up and coming. I don't necessarily want a job, but I want to know what you're talking about and why haven't you talked about this guy? And what questions are you asking that we don't agree on or know about? Or what is this sabermetrics has to do with my instincts? You know, how can we bring those together so I can make all of us better? But so all I want to do is, that's why I say all I want to do is make the game better. Whatever they want to call it, sabermetrics, I'm good with that. But that's really history. I need to know, okay, this guy's 1 for 9. Do I use him? No. My instincts tell me I use him because I got to know when he's going to get that 1. That's my job. I got to know when that 1's going to come, and is it going to affect the outcome of the game? If I can figure that out and he get that 1 and we win, then I've done my job.
And that has residual effect to it.
Exactly.
Also, so with that being said, let's go back to the World Series, 2020 World Series. We have Snell out there, I think 70-something pitches. You're in the dugout. Do you take him out of the game?
Well, you know, those are, you know, from a manager's point of view, I mean, I think the world could probably see what was happening, but you got to know kind of what led up to that. That's where now you don't have a measure of time. You're going on a history. Now I got to go on instincts. This is something's at hand here. I cannot go on what was factual. I got to go on what is true. Did you get that?
You see me when I'm sitting here, I'm thinking something wrong. Because you know what you went through my head is like, I'm thinking when you're talking about these sabermetrics and instincts and all, and then I'm trying to think from two different I'm trying to think from a player standpoint and from a manager standpoint. And so I think we have a lot of players in the sabermetrics, right? But your best asset, your best tool is your instincts. Right. So I need you to be instinctual when you get on the field.
No doubt.
Because the way this game is right now, you think like you don't have time to think. Like, we got to go right now.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to put that together, and then obviously the manager. That's why managing is so like you got to do both really quickly, right?
Right. You got to know that. You got to know all that beforehand. I mean, you could go back to the World Series in Cleveland when Chapman gave up the home run, or when something happened, or they got a home run, but they brought Chapman still into the ball game. Well, that was late. Those pitches hurt him going forward. Hey,
that was game 6. That was game 6 when Chapman was pitching with the. I think it was an 8-run lead or something like that.
Yeah, they got a big 8-run lead, and he still go back out there to throw to another batter. As soon as that home run was hit quickly with 2 outs, boom, bam, we up. Ball game is probably over. Right there, you got to go down to your third base coach and start talking to him, or have him to call a hitter down. Boom, 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 get on that phone. You don't have time to celebrate up on the top step when this guy comes around. And he's at second base, all this got to be going on in the background. Get so-and-so up, he ready, he got to be in the game. I don't want Chapman going back out there and we got a 7-run lead and he's already thrown X amount of pitches. Boom. So all these things, that's where the instincts have to take over. You almost lost it because of you weren't ready for what happened. Or you didn't react. Somebody didn't react. See, when Philippe Ballou, I'd have been down there talking to the guy, and somebody been rushing to the bullpen getting ready because this guy's out of the game. We got to save those bullets. He threw how many warm-ups and then threw to a hitter, then he took him out. It's too late. That anxiety, those pitches are too late. Now, in the case of Snell being out there, he was going on a history versus on instinct, which is what's going to tell you what's going to happen in the future. He was going on a history.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't in tune with his instincts at that point. And the pitcher was surprised.
But
Mookie Betts was surprised.
I mean, everyone in the world was surprised. And the thing, in defense of the Tampa Bay or Rays or whatever they're called, is that they were doing that all season, right?
Yeah,
that's how they got to where they were. So they lived and died by their method, and they died. And I got no problem with that, because there's other teams that do the same thing. They get to the playoffs or the World Series and they start bringing their starters out as relievers, and they got guys doing stuff they've never done, right? So if that's your thing and that's what got you there, cool, good, cool. You live and die with it. But where's the game going? Where are we going with this?
Well, I mean, you make a good point there, and that's a good argument. But if you think that over the course of 162, you're going sabermetrically, so to speak. Now you get into the playoffs. Well, those numbers really don't. There's some indication as to what could possibly happen, but now I'm going against not a number one, I'm going against a number two, and then I might go against somebody else's number one that they bought. So now this game, this thing changes now. This playoff time now.
And as you know, playoffs, that's a different beast.
That's right.
That's a different heart rate.
That's right. That's why I was telling our young kids the other day about these guys trying to get into the 64 Final Four, the energy and the effort they was putting out just to try to get to 64. You got to get comfortable in that energy and effort. You just can't bring it now because it's uncomfortable. Get comfortable bringing it all the time. Like you say, a skill.
Like Derek Jeter running to first base. Like you do it all the time. That's just what you do. It becomes a habit.
That's what he do. And Derek Jeter, you never knew whether or not he was 0 for 40 or 40 for 40. And I always managed the game for him not to come up to beat me. Oh, yeah. I face A-Rod, whoever else they got over there. But if the game is on the line, I know he's not going for personal stats. He's going for the game.
Built different. It's different.
Yes, it's different. Yeah.
And that's what, but there's no analytics for that. You know what I'm saying? There's no analytics for that type of heart rate in those type of situations. There's guys, as a manager, there's guys that want to be in those situations.
No doubt.
And there's guys that they don't want to be in that situation.
Don't look at him. Don't look for me. I'm down.
Yeah.
He's in the bathroom. He's down in the clubhouse.
24-hour flu. But you know, as a manager, no matter you can go the whole season, you know your players. Yes. You get to these situations and you know what players are comfortable in certain situations, and that's where you gotta they gotta lean on that person. That's what you're getting paid to do.
Yes, no doubt. You gotta know that and that's kind of why I felt that once school was out, I knew my team. I knew what I had. But before that, you still, trying to piece it together, so to speak. So, yeah.
So back to, when you guys won the World Series, you won the 95 games. You go to New York. Were you guys doing any mental skills stuff for any of those teams, organizations invested in the mental game?
Harvey Dorfman
Mets,
was
right?
no. Harvey Dorfman was with the Marlins. Was the first time I met Harvey. I was 1 year with the Marlins. Yeah, I was 1 year with the Marlins, and I recollect during spring training how Jim Leland hated to see Harvey Dorfman. He couldn't stand that Harvey Dorfman was in uniform.
Oh, he was in uniform too. Okay, yeah.
The first of spring training, he was the guy they met with. The whole team met with Harvey. Then they go through their exercises. And Jim Leland and the coaches, we sent over there, watch him. I'll go and listen to him because I love the way he spoke. And when we won the World Series, Jim Leland said we couldn't have won it without Harvey Dorfman. That was it. He 360'd and said that man is the reason we won the World Series. And you never knew Harvey was doing work with guys because you never saw him doing it with guys. He'd take them someplace nobody ever saw him. I mean, and we had some characters. Kevin Brown, Fernandez, Al Leiter.
Yes.
I mean, we had some Rob Nin. We had some people that we had some people that had some issues, whether you realize that or not. But Harvey navigated that.
Kevin Brown, like Kevin Brown, he was mad. The guy was mad on the mound. He's throwing 100-mile-an-hour bowling balls to the plate.
But was fragile.
But people don't realize this stuff.
That's right.
You know, they don't realize it because they see, you know, you guys are baseball players and got it all figured out. But people don't understand. Like, no, these are human beings, and guys, mindsets and egos and all the above are fragile, and that's why I call these things skills. That's why these are skills, and we can develop all these things. Just like, you know, we spend so much time. For me, I know I was first round. I have all the physical skills, right? I get in the pro ball. I'd never dealt with failure before. Like, how do you know how to deal with something you've never dealt with before? You know, and so if you don't have a resource or a routine, what are you gonna do? Like, you know, and so the time that you spend all these time developing our swing, developing throwing the ball down and away. We already know that baseball is a game of failure. You're going to fail more than you succeed. And what guys that are able to come back, like you say, Derek Jeter could be 0 for 4. You're managing not to face him because you know if he comes up for that fifth at bat, the game on the line, it's a good chance he's going to execute. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. He could be 0 for 40. If that game on the line, he's going to get the line drive to right field. I guarantee you. He's going to get a hit somewhere. And it's probably going to be a line drive to right field, just like you said. Just like you said. And he's the one player there's probably two players that I was able to play with and see. Him and Torrey Hunter were guys that you didn't know if they were 0 for 10 or 10 for 10. You didn't know what they're batting. Their body language was always the same. Getting in, walking to the plate, getting in and out of the box. And you've seen a lot of guys, and you know when guys are going well and when they're not going well just by their body language out there. No doubt. And Torrey and Derek are great examples, but I think Torrey had got the benefit of playing in Minnesota, which is different than playing in New York. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? I mean, when you can go through some things, some trials, you can learn yourself in a Minnesota. That's like, at that time, that's like high AAA. Right. You know what I'm saying? And you learn and you go to these big cities and you get off and you do what you got. Well, can you do that in that big city every day? And that's what Derek Jeter did. Facts. That's another thing where, there's an asterisk because he did it in New York. Yes. You never hear anything about Derek Jeter, number one, you know, and playing that long in New York is unreal. And I know it. You look at the people that were around him, his family, you know, I know he has a foundation and all that stuff, and he was really a grounded person, right? And it's really,
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest things. You say, like, you come in, the people that you have around you and keep around
Yeah.
you, and you have to have people around you that are going to keep you grounded and pointed in the right direction.
Yeah, it would be interesting to me to see how he responds, how he would have responded to the social issues that we just had last year. Because he almost, you, and this is not a knock, but you almost didn't get that other side of Jeter. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, he was on the MJ, like
Yeah.
same thing with MJ,
Yeah.
and it's good to see MJ. I think
Yeah, come out of it now.
And
Yeah, exactly.
he's opening up now, and so I get it, man. The one thing about the social issues and playing and whatever you do, like, you got to be yourself. Number one, yeah, you got to be yourself, and you. Some people are comfortable. Some people could be Ali.
Yeah.
Other people, that's not them, but that doesn't mean they're not doing something. So
Right.
I get that. But you're exactly right, man. Like, to be able to do all these things in these type of cities, man, that's huge. Not easy to do, and
that's huge. That's
and
because you almost have to adopt the apparatus that you're dealing with at its hugest exposure, and that you know what's going on. We know what's really happening, but I gotta adopt this, but I can't let this become a part of me once I leave here.
And that's another skill. You know what I'm saying? Like, Like, not everyone's equipped with that stuff right there. Like, just playing's hard enough.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you just said, like, playing, the difference between playing in Minnesota and playing in New York, like, those are big differences, right?
Yes.
And then you start doing these other things. So I know that you said you're married for 47 years for being selfless, right? Being selfish. You can't ever go wrong being selfless. And, you talk about social issues is about being selfless. And people, fans, you hear people say, oh, just play. We want you to just play. That's it. But not understanding that, you take your uniform off, you're a person.
Yeah.
These guys are people, and they have families.
Right.
And so, the biggest thing about that is just being selfless.
Yes. We've been built on this, in this place, as entertainers, not thinkers, cerebral, so to speak. Just, and just go out and dribble. You got nothing to say. What you doing on one knee? Well, so the prophet must have spoke to him, because what he was saying, it came true. Somebody spoke to him. Somebody spoke to him and said, yeah, get down there. They don't know what's going on. Bring light to this. It's going to cost you, but I need you to bring light to this. He brought light to it. And then the light began to shine brighter the last 4 years. We began to see some other things come out.
And it was peaceful.
Yeah.
And it was peaceful.
Yes. From one side.
But I think, it's like that thing, they mistake kindness for weakness, right?
No doubt.
And it's peaceful. People don't really want to listen to you, right? And then now, okay. So just knowing that there's athletes and people that are willing to do these things, and people can say whatever they want. Oh, they're doing it for this, they're doing it for that. Whatever, they're doing it. Okay.
Yeah. And it's powerful. It's powerful. Like you said,
it's very powerful.
Peaceful and love is powerful. It's very powerful. And that's the arc in which we're underneath. We're following that arc. I mean, Martin said, what did Martin say? The moral arc of justice is long. The moral arc bends towards justice.
Mm.
It's a long arc.
Mm.
And he said, when you're in that arc, you're on your way to justice. But while you're in there, don't bend over. Stand straight up. Because the man can't ride your back when it's bent. Can't ride you. Stay straight up. Look him in the eye.
And those are things that you can control, right? You can control those things, right? And your body language, right? So that's another skill.
Oh, no doubt.
When it comes to Sacramento, like just if you don't do anything else, like sometimes you got to fool yourself out on the field. Like you may not have your best stuff, but if you just perk up a little bit,
exactly,
you can fool yourself. If you just if you walk into the play like Jake every time, slow, getting out of bus, slow, you're gonna surprise yourself. But these are things that baseball is tricky, right? Because we get judged on results. Everything's about results, and we have all these external things that distract us from our process. And baseball, and that's why baseball and life are really similar, and if we just learn to control the things that we can control, and this body language, our self-talk, our preparation, our attitude, our effort. And I like that, because if you lean down, someone can ride your back. You're gonna get tired. You're gonna get tired faster like this. So we might as well just practice standing straight up, and then noticing how powerful and how good we feel when we do that.
Yes, and also, like people get on me for going down different roads, but me and you talking, we can go down different lanes. Yeah, when you're missing a culture that knows how to handle failure, then you're missing something in the game. We know what that is like. That's why when they broke the color line, 9 out of the next 10 National League players, National League MVPs were Black. How could you be that tough at that time and be voted by none of your peers, but by people whose people have probably had something to do with where you started, where your grandparents started, had to vote for you to be the MVP. Now because we've dealt with that. Y'all haven't dealt with that. That's why y'all go to these other things.
Right, but so the fact we embrace, like you can't accomplish anything without going through something. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like period, period. So
that's right.
Hank Aaron, Hank Aaron. What comes to mind with Hank Aaron? Talk to me.
Oh my goodness, that's my hero. That's my number one guy. I mean, I know Willie Mays is the greatest of all time, but Hank is my guy. And Hank's last ball he hit was hit to me at shortstop, and I couldn't throw him out in the hole. That was his last hit was an infield hit. Yes. Wow. Yeah, Hank has been my guy. I mean, we argue all the time about Hank and Willie Mays. I mean, I know how great Willie was, but when I talk to the people that's been around Hank, and I had an opportunity to spend some time with Hank, I mean, and to deal with what he had to deal with, and to be as good as he was and consistent as he was, as long as he was. Come on, man.
Unbelievable. And I'm waiting for the petition to change that logo. That logo should be Hank Aaron.
Yes.
MLB logo should be the hammering Hank Aaron. 44.
You're right. Everything I got 44 and 42 in. So if you want to get my passwords, I not told you half of them.
I wouldn't do that nowadays. Hey, all your stuff would be crashed. But that's so. Back to this ground ball. You didn't move your feet, or what? What happened?
No, I was playing. I learned that at shortstop, there are certain angles you got to take. And to just catch his ball, I went beyond the strength of my arm.
Angles, yeah. Did you? So
Yeah.
you learned something though.
Oh yeah, I constantly grow just watching. I mean, I think.
Were you giving him a hit? Were you giving him a hit or what? You weren't giving him a hit. You weren't giving him a hit now.
No, I wouldn't. I don't give anybody
hooking him up
on defense. You know how you play. We know how we play against each other.
You're right.
We go after each other harder than we go anywhere else. I'm just shortstop, and I had guys coming to me, brothers. They're trying to get you, and then we go and talk about it later. But that's just how we did it.
Yep.
That made us better. We knew we were living out what our parents had told us, and the other guy was helping us to live it out.
That's right.
They was helping us.
I tell you what, man, I could do this all night with you. Unbelievable stories, between you and Dusty. You guys are legends in this game and have impacted so many of us, and you continue to do it. And I can't tell you how appreciative we all are to you guys.
Well, I'm definitely under the wing of Dusty. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he's been a guy that I've looked up to and gone to, and even when I was I came probably about 4 or 5 years after Dusty, and as soon as I saw Dusty in another uniform or was against him, first thing he said was, "What's up, homie?" He called everybody from Sacramento, "What's up, homie?" and then we kind of hit it off, and we went to different meetings, and he would introduce me as this up and coming guy. And I mean, nobody knew nothing about me. I wasn't a everyday major league player, but Dusty would promote me to different people. So I've always called him the Eagle. I said, "Man, you flying a little higher than everybody else, bro. But we're under your wings, though. Take care of us, bro, because you're the one we need. We need you to get in that Hall of Fame, man."
You got that right. And he is a Hall of Famer either way. And I hope he gets a championship. I hope he gets him a ring.
Mm-hmm. That would be awesome to see him walk out of there with that, because I think he's ready to come on home and watch Darren play. Darren is a tremendous player. He is a tremendous. He's missing out when he don't see Darren play. And that's
I know he it hurts him. You know what I'm saying? Like he is missing out.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that with you guys, and you guys been in the game a long time and managing, and so it's really even more impressive, to see what your kids are doing and continue to do, and so
we have to go back. We have to do a better job of going back to the youth. People in my generation, we got to do a better job of getting back in the fold and walking them through the process, letting young players meet you and talk with Darnell McDonald. What did this look like for me culturally, ethnicity? What does this look like for me, Darnell? How do I handle this apparatus that the system is kind of set up a certain way and it runs deep? How do I uproot it and still be me? Or how do I join it and get on the leaf, get on the plant, and become a flower and a fruit that you can taste and say, that's different?
These are we talking about baseball hacks. Don't know. You know what I'm saying? Baseball hacks. And this is things that you know what I'm saying? There ain't no data on these things, but they're, and it's like a free blueprint, right? And you take the stuff and then you make it your own. But these are things that I definitely wish I would have had.
Same here.
Coming in to pro ball, man. I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't know how to be a professional. I didn't know I didn't know how to do day to day prepared and all those things. So it took a lot of years to do that. So I came out of high school.
Same here.
Came out of high school. I know you were first pick. I was first pick. And like I said before, I didn't know how to deal with it, failure, and I didn't know how to be a professional. And so we have to understand, like, your window of opportunity is closing every day.
Every day.
And you're going to be not a baseball player longer than you're going to be a baseball player. But when I was 18, they're telling me that. I'm like, man, I'm playing baseball all my life.
Right.
A lot of money. I ain't worried about, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the faster we can learn, like you said, discipline.
Yes.
These pillars, that's going to carry you. That's going to, carry you through your baseball and beyond.
Right.
47. Right. So we got to put 47 in there. 47, 42, 44. Yes, sir. So I have one more question for you. Question. I know. So your nickname Sage. Where did Sage came from? I know you. I mean, you wasn't burning sage back in the day. What was going on? Where Sage come from?
That's the New York media, man. New York. I didn't know that until one of my kids told me. Dad,
that was later. That was later in the game.
Yeah,
this came.
Yeah. I think. I think. Again, I thought New York was so challenging that it brought out the intellectual side of me more than, say, Chicago. I had 2 beat writers. There, you had to speak to a number of different people. And, Philippe Lou kind of taught me and said, Jerry, they're asking you the question, but you're teaching them. You're teaching them. So I always took that as I'm teaching them, because they could come off as they know more than you, or they got you trapped or whatever. Then if you know what you're doing, you can back it around and say, now, this is why this went this way, because tomorrow this went that way, or the next day or the next week. As a manager, you're mapped out, weeks ahead. So you're able to explain different little nuances that they might not see at that particular time.
That's all you, and I know you love that, because that's right. That's right up your alley. That's why you're my pastor, and man, it's just I love you. I love your presence. You have a presence, when you walk in a room, when you speak, and a leader, and this world needs leaders. We need, and you've inspired me. Like you said, we got to come back, and we got to get the youth, right? It all starts with the youth.
Yes. Yeah. We got to get there. Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate that as well.
Yeah. The more we can do for the next generation will really benefit this generation. Mahatma Gandhi.
I know, you said I got some gangster and some I don't know which one's gonna come out.
Yeah, I know.
That's called self-awareness. That's what you have self-awareness, and that's what we got to understand. We all have it in us, right? We all got all these things in us, right? Yeah. And we got to learn to hopefully tap into those things when we want them. It's like Bruce Lee,
Yes. Oh man, wow.
Tension and relaxation. One's not better than the other, but hopefully we're tapping into the one when we want to tap into it.
Yeah. I look forward to you being down there, man, spending some time with you. I'd like to pick your brain, man. You young intellectual on your way up, man. You're in a different lane. I like that lane you're in. I think that's going to be very helpful for all people, not just our people, just for all people, for humanity. So I appreciate you being in that lane, bro. That's a good lane to be in.
Selfless, and what you said. What did you tell Jerry when he started? Spirit God, you said something humble.
Yeah.
A couple other
humility,
things.
Give it away.
Okay.
Yeah. Humility and give it away. Humility and give. You got a shot.
I like that. So we're gonna drop the mic on that. Thank you for coming on the
All right,
Don't
man.
Play podcast, episode number 4. Sponsored by the Jerry Manuel Foundation, Fear of God. Make sure you guys go check out with the great work that they're doing at the Jerry Manuel Foundation. Make sure you go check out Fear of God. Make sure you go check out your daughter with Army. Right? And then my man Anthony Manuel. I love Anthony Manuel. He's doing his thing. And
then there's Natalie. Natalie just
Natalie,
just had our 8th grandchild. Wow. Yeah, beautiful. So we're trying to keep this thing moving. And Natalie has a show called Now with Natalie. I think her last interview was CeCe Winans. I think she just interviewed her last week. She does that kind of stuff. So,
blessed,
we're
man.
blessed. My wife did a great job, man. My wife did a great job. Yeah.
Well, I tip my hat to her. Hat tip. Yeah. Keep up the good work, man. Have a good night. I look forward to seeing you soon, Skipper.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right, Jerry Manuel.
All right.